Welcome to Bet the Edge, Blitzing the Board powered by PointsBet. I am your host, Sarah Perlman, and we are back hunting for value in Week 4 with actionable betting insights and analysis. You can catch our show live on YouTube Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern or on Peacock up until kickoff on Sunday. I am joined by two of the sharpest football and betting minds in the industry. Warren Sharp, founder of Sharp Football Analysis, and Vaughn Dalzell, betting analyst for NBC Sports Edge, who is coming off 9 straight winning weeks across all sports, filling in for Drew Dinsick, the whale capper himself. Vaughn, welcome to the show. Did I say that right? 9 straight winning weeks?
You did, and we're going for 10 here on the show, so I can't wait. Great NFL start to the season. I am honored to be here with you and, of course, Warren. 1 hour of football talk. Can't get much better than that.
Vaughn, I'm surprised you got the turtleneck on because you're so hot. I thought you might have to get rid of some of that, but good luck this week. It's going to be a great show. Don't love the board, Sarah. This board is pretty ugly. We're going to be talking about some gross games, but anytime we get to break down the NFL and share some insights, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we got some gross games. I saw the game you chose for your game of the week, and I'm outright disgusted. More on that in a little bit. Coming up, it's Tom Brady week. We are tracking the line movement on PointsBet to get you the best numbers on both Tampa and New England ahead of TB12's return to Foxborough. Plus, you've already seen some of the tweets. Warren has some choice words for Matt Nagy's offense ahead of the Bears-Lions game. And why Vaughn sees the Cardinals' air raid offense getting grounded against the Rams. And as always, Jay Croucher from PointsBet will join us live to share all of the special props, prop bets, and promotions PointsBet is offering around Tom Brady on Sunday Night Football on NBC. But to kick it off, we always begin with what we're watching heading into Sunday for Week 4. And as we just mentioned, I'm not sure if anyone's heard, maybe you've caught the Adele promo, but Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are heading up to New England to take on the Patriots this Sunday night. We're going to talk about this game plenty on our show, but Vaughn, I'll start with you here. What stands out the most about this matchup, and give us a little taste with some of the bets you're going to be eyeing for this matchup?
I think it's safe to say Adele was born to make that song for Tom Brady's return to New England. So I'm so excited. I'll be covering this game on NBC's Instagram, NBC Sports Bet. I'll be at the game doing a little tailgating with the fans, Bucks and Pats, seeing what they think is going to happen. So it should be a good one. I'm excited to be a part of this because it's history. As we know, Father Time has not caught up with Tom Brady yet at 44. Unlikely he'll be returned to New England. As a Buccaneer, though, he is 5-0 against the spread, coming off a loss and on the money line. That intrigues me going against his former home where he has wrecked house there 4 years against opponents. This will be the only time he's there as opposing quarterback. Tampa Bay, 0-4 against New England since 2005. Why is that? It's because Tom Brady's under center, old school versus the new. I like the Buccaneers in this spot. And if you're a fan of the teaser, if you're the fan of the money line, which, Sarah, I know you're a teaser, I think that there's a great spot here to get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a 6-point teaser and take them along with another team that does so well coming off a loss that Warren's going to talk about a little bit next.
Just for what it's worth, Tom Brady is coming off of that loss to the Rams. And if you look over his career, he's been awesome coming off of an L. 52-12 straight up, 47-20 against the spread coming off of a loss, 52-15 rather straight up. So this is a good spot if you like Tom Brady. I will be watching out to see how they game plan, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, against each other, knowing each other so well. Now, the other team that played in last year's Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs, they are off to their worst start in almost 7 years. The Chiefs are 1-2 alone in last place in the AFC West for the first time, dating back to 2015. Warren, in your Sharp Football Analysis book, you mentioned the Chiefs' 8-1 record in one-score games last year, and that was the reason you took the under on their win total. They have already surpassed that. They now have 2 one-score losses to start off the season. What say you about the Kansas City Chiefs' slow start to the season compared to the rest of their division?
It's not only a slow start to the season, they are starting very slowly in these games, Sarah, and that's catching up to them. This is an offense that is so dynamic and can put up points very quickly in spurts, especially in the second half. So they feel like they don't really have to get out the gates like other teams do. We know that the way to win games in the NFL is to lead at halftime. But the Kansas City Chiefs in all 3 of their games have never scored more than 10 first half points at all. And that's crazy to think about with an offense like this. I do think that they had some negative luck go there against them in the game against the Chargers. That offense was far more productive to start that game, but they really have to get off to the gates faster in these first halves. Defensively, I mean, it's been terrible. What can you say? Number 32 against the pass and number 32 against the run. The only sliver of hope is the fact that this team has played some brutally difficult offenses, a couple of which are great at running the ball. And we know that that really is the weakness of the Kansas City Chiefs. We're talking specifically about the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens, who they played to start the season. And then you go up against Justin Herbert, who's got a great arm, can make every throw on the football field, and a defense that really knows how to play well against Mahomes and takes away the ball multiple times in that game. So I do think that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to get back on track. They probably are a nice long shot bet, especially with the way that the Chargers are going right now, and the Raiders, especially for the Chiefs to get back on track. Their next 6 opponents are extremely, extremely manageable. It starts Sunday in Philadelphia. Andy Reid's return to take on the Eagles, where the Kansas City Chiefs are laying 7 points.
I'm excited for that game. I will break that down later on for Pearls of Wisdom, so you definitely want to hear that. But the Chiefs are still favored to win their division despite being 1-2, or in -125 to win the AFC West. Do you have thoughts on them in the futures market now or in the Super Bowl market where there really hasn't been much movement? They're still the favorite.
Yeah, I wouldn't be interested in them in the long shot market for the Super Bowl because, as you said, they're the favorite, and I don't want to bet on them at that mark. You know, maybe if you took some of these other teams to win the division, this would be a good time to take the Chiefs and have a nice opportunity there. If you didn't take anybody yet in this division, I probably wouldn't then go and lay the Chiefs to win it. But if you have a nice ticket that's going to pay decent money, if the Raiders were to win this division or the Chargers were to win this division, and then you add to that portfolio the Chiefs to win the division, because like I said, their next 6 games, extremely manageable, totally different style of opponents than they played the first 3 weeks to start the season. And I bet they get back on track pretty quickly.
I think they do too, playing the Eagles this week. Now, another slow starter are the Pittsburgh Steelers. After winning week 1 at Buffalo, Pittsburgh has now dropped home games to both the Raiders and the Bengals by a combined 50-27 score. The Steelers are 12-1 to win the AFC North. This is the first time they've been the biggest long shot to win the division over the last 3 years. Now, Warren, before I let you tee off on the Steelers play calling, here's what our friends on A Good Football Show had to say about the state of the Steelers passing game.
I really do think that there's no hope for the Steelers offense. And speaking of the target numbers for Najee Harris, 19, correct?
It is more than a normal amount of running back targets. I agree.
So I actually thought when I saw that first on Sunday afternoon, probably around 5:00, and I saw Najee Harris 19 targets, I thought, no, that did not happen. That could not have happened. That's a misprint. I'm misunderstanding. He has 19 targets over 3 games. That's what I thought, actually.
Oh, but it happened. 19 targets for Najee Harris. That sure is something, Warren. There's nothing I like to do more than pick your brain about what's going on with play calling and the coaching staff, indeed. And that's what's happening with the Steelers. What's going on?
What's going on is a whole lot of what we saw last year, which we thought might be improved this year. Obviously, they tried to go out and draft a running back thinking that would solve their problem instead of looking for some potential ways to add more blue chip type prospects to the offensive line. And because they focused on a running back and a tight end and then started to address the offensive line last offseason, though they have some new bodies up there, they're bodies that are no better than the bodies that were there last season. And what is happening now is this offense has not really become more dynamic under Matt Canada. It's been a lot of what we saw last year. What did we see last year with this offense? We saw an extremely high rate of 11 personnel, which is 3 wide receivers out on the field, a running back and a tight end. We saw no pre-snap motion, no play action. What the defense saw pre-snap, they got post-snap, and it was very easy to read, recognize, and identify and go to the football with what the Steelers offense was doing. And unfortunately, that's exactly what we're getting this year. They have one of the highest rates of passes out of 11 personnel in the NFL. They have the lowest motion rate, and they have, I think, the second or third lowest play action rate. It's been pathetic. It's been stagnant. And when they do try to drop back to throw the football deeper down the field, this offensive line, which was not addressed appropriately in the offseason, is allowing Ben Roethlisberger to be pressured too much. Now, Ben Roethlisberger is no better than he was last year. He looks worse. He looks older. He looks more capable of being beat up quicker. So all these things round together, Sarah, it's just a bad recipe. And I'm sure all of the Steeler fans out there really wish the team did something different this offseason to get ready for this year.
Well, you said it. Steelers fan number one, Von Dalzell. And it's been tough, whether you back them or you're a fan like yourself. On what do you make of this offense for the season?
It really irks my soul to watch what they've been doing, and it's the same thing as Warren said. They're looking similar to last year. Ben Roethlisberger led the NFL time to throw last year. Quick in and out duck routes. He doesn't want to throw the ball deep because they can't. They have no offensive line, and this is the worst offensive line that Big Ben has ever had in his career. We just got a comment on YouTube: is Big Ben washed? I'll say he's clumsy. Big Ben is out there. He's not mobile enough to do anything for the Steelers, and when you're not drafting, like Warren said, for the future, they're going for a running back and tight end first before a quarterback and offensive lineman. That's the difference. They could go up and get Mac Jones. They can go up and get Justin Fields. They can get ready for the future, but they've chose repeatedly not to do that and focus on the now. And the now is bad, and the Steelers defense cannot bail this offense out any longer. I came on numerous episodes, Sarah, with you and said Steelers win total under, missed the playoffs, Najee Harris under. All of that looks good right now, and I'm very confident my Steelers do not make the playoffs.
Oh, gosh. Well, you don't sound like a real fan there, but at least you're realistic. I'll give you that much. Tough matchup against the Green Bay Packers this week. But ultimately, that was not your game of the week. And thank goodness, because we have a better game to get to, Vaughn. And that's where we head. We asked you your favorite game on the board. You came back with the Cardinals and the Rams, where this opened with Los Angeles favored by 6 and the total at 53.5. We now see the spread has come way down, seeing a 4.5, which would definitely suggest there's been some money backing the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Vaughn, I do have a feeling that you'll disagree with these Cardinals backers. Ultimately, how are you handicapping this game?
Seeing a ton of love for the Arizona Cardinals this year, and it's very understandable with the hot start they've had, especially with Kyler Murray. But if you watch Bet the Edge this morning with me, you already know Kyler Murray is my biggest player prop play under of the week. And with that being said, I'm fading the Cardinals offense then. Sean McVay is 8-0 against this Arizona Cardinals team since 2017. He's beat Cliff Kingsbury 4 straight times and Kyler Murray with him under center. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals have only scored more than 24 points one time against the Rams in those 4. It gives me confidence to play the Arizona Cardinals team total under 24. There are 24.5 out there. I like this number because in the last 12 road games for Arizona, the under has cashed 11 times. That's a 91.7% hit rate. And as I said, they haven't had this success, and Kyler Murray has struggled against the Los Angeles Rams in his career, only hitting the over 275, which is his number one time. This is the LA Rams in LA. We just saw them hold the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to 24. The Cardinals on the other end needed a pick 6 to hit 31 to go over 24 against the Jaguars rookie head coach and quarterback in the game they trailed. I'm pretty confident that Jalen Ramsey will shut Hawkins down. We'll see a lot of Chase Edmonds, no James Conner, maybe a little bit of A.J. Green and Christian Kirk, but it's going to be limited offense from the Arizona Cardinals. I love what the Los Angeles Rams will be able to do against the Cardinals come Sunday.
I think the Rams are the most predictable team against this Cardinals defense. Sean McVay knows exactly what to do. You are going to get 30 points out of this Rams offense, in my opinion. So if you like the Cardinals, I think that highly correlates with the over in this game. You need Kyler Murray and this offense to do something consistently against this Rams team in order for them to be productive. Vaughn's absolutely right, and Sarah is as well. This sharp money absolutely was buying the Arizona Cardinals way down. But if you haven't jumped on that bandwagon yet, it's getting to feel like it's a little bit too late. I have not touched this game at all.
I have not touched this game because I faded the Rams last week and that one hurt. They're going to get after Kyler Murray. So we'll see how that plays out when he sees a real defensive line come after him. But money came in on the Cardinals and the over. We're now sitting at 55. Warren, your game of the week. Let's get to it. I do not like this game, so I am pumped up to hear what is going on in your brain. It's Washington and Atlanta. This line opened Washington favored by 1.5. That's where it remains. The total ticked down. We saw this come on the board earlier in the week at 48.5. We're looking at 47.5. I'm done with the Washington football team and Atlanta. I'm done. What's going on with this?
What's going on is the Washington football team's defense was highly overrated entering the season, and they've done nothing to actually eliminate that from our thoughts. They've cemented the fact that this defense was well overrated, and they've looked terrible. But let's take that with a grain of salt. We look at their competition. Justin Herbert, week 1, great quarterback. That's clearly on display as he goes out and beats the Kansas City Chiefs. We look last week. this was a difficult spot for Washington, believe it or not. Taylor Heinicke on his first road start of his career, coupled with the fact that Brian Daboll's grandmother passed away and this team dedicated the game to his grandmother. Bill's offense looked unstoppable against Washington's defense. This is a defense with Ron Rivera, who's a defensive coach. He has a lot of pride. They're going to get things back on track. And I think the perfect way to get things back on track is against Arthur Smith, this Atlanta Falcons offense that really does not have a consistent clue of what to do offensively, does not have the talent at the receiver position or quarterback. Think about those quarterbacks. We're talking about Josh Allen, and we're talking about Justin Herbert, and we're talking about extremely dynamic receiving cores on both of those teams. That is what was giving the Washington football team difficulty on the defensive side of the football. Now we're talking about Matt Ryan, who is getting up there in age and doesn't make all the throws like he once did, and who is on this receiving core from a wide receiver perspective besides Ridley. You've got a rookie in Kyle Pitts, and besides that, there's really not much to be fearful of. I think that Atlanta is going to struggle to run the ball, and where I really like Washington here is on the ground with them being able to run the ball. The Washington football team should have success. They're the number one team in run block win rate in the NFL. They should have success running on this Atlanta Falcons defense. And what better way to make a quarterback comfortable, young one like Taylor Heinicke, than to have a running game? Secondly, Washington has played 3 top 10 defenses in yards per pass attempt allowed on the season. Now they get to go up against this Atlanta Falcons defense, which ranks number 31. I just simply think that Taylor Heinicke is going to look better. This offense is going to be able to run the football a little bit here. And then defensively, they are going to finally look better than what they have the past couple of games against a weaker offense.
Warren, I came into this game saying, no way am I touching it. I'm leaving, heading to break, thinking I'll back the Washington football team. So I guess you did your job there. Definitely checks out. Their defense needs to figure it out against this Falcons team, but Arthur Smith has not been creative enough yet. Get an edge with our premium betting tools, which you can get a glimpse of throughout the show, that are packed with live odds, betting trends, predictions, player prop projections, our extensive edge finder, so much more. Don't forget to use the promo code BLITZ10, get 10% off any annual subscription. We will continue breaking down the rest of the NFL slate when we come back.
NBC Sports Edge Plus, home to everything fantasy, DFS, and betting, with premier tools and exclusive insights that are second to none. Get fantasy predictions, rankings, and betting trends, plus news and analysis from our experts. Play with confidence today. Visit NBCSportsEdge.com/learn.
Hey, what's up? It's Corey Parson here with NBC Sports Edge, getting you ready for Week 4 in the NFL, where the Washington football team are 1.5 road favorites versus the Atlanta Falcons. Normally, I stay away from short road favorites, but in this case, since 2018, the Atlanta Falcons are 9-15-1 ATS at home. Lay the number with the football team. Don't forget to check out Bet the Edge each and every weekday on our NBC Sports Edge YouTube channel. Once again, I'm Corey Parson. Enjoy the games and enjoy the sweat.
Another beauty on Sunday Night Football. And don't touch that dial.
That's sensational.
What a play.
Holy smokes.
Welcome to AP Bio. Ready to begin?
You're a tiger.
Uniforms promote conformity. You're going to turn these kids into cults.
We're really getting somewhere now.
Yeah. We are officially in a tornado warning.
We're all dead. No, we're dead. Do not live in fear. Dad!
Where's my son, Jack?
Are you Mr. Griffin?
I suppose I am.
Dad?
Welcome back to Blitzing the Board. We now go between the lines, where both Warren and Vaughn have identified a matchup that they are going to be looking to attack for Week 4. We'll start with Warren here. And this game has a lot of noise around it with Matt Nagy, because, Warren, I've seen your Twitter. I've seen some videos. You've had some choice words for Matt Nagy's play calling so far. And I look at this right now with the Bears opened at 3.5. Money came in on the Lions, because now the current line, Bears -2.5. The totals tick down a ton. opened at 44, took only under money at 41.5. So we look between the lines in this one, Warren. What stands out with Justin Fields and Matt Nagy?
What stands out to me is Matt Nagy is terrible as a play caller in the NFL, and he's never showed us anything other than that. So why should we believe he'll be any better this week? But, Sarah, what we don't know yet, which we found out Friday night before a Week 10 Monday night game last year, is will Matt Nagy actually call plays? Because I have just learned that there is a chance that Bill Lazor will be calling plays this very week. And Matt Nagy is contemplating, just like he did last season, giving up play calling. Now, it's really ridiculous to actually give the play calling up at this point in the week because the offensive installs already occurred. So whoever calls plays here is not really going to have the benefit of actually setting up the whole offense and installing the plays that you actually want to run for your game plan. That being said, down the stretch, I do think Bill Lazor will absolutely do a better job than would Matt Nagy. But it was really a disservice to Justin Fields the way that they were calling this game last week against the Cleveland Browns. They were constantly calling 5-man protections. The pass rush was getting to Justin Fields. They were trying to get him to throw the ball really short on all these read option plays that did not have any chance of success because this defensive backs were squatting on all of the routes. It was a disaster all the way around. Now, on the good part for this game against the Detroit Lions, I think that this offense for the Bears can't be any worse than it was last week. Went up against a much better pass rush and should look better against the Detroit Lions defense. That being said, I think the Detroit Lions did a great job of slowing and limiting Lamar Jackson last week. And so it was a good preview for the type of quarterback they're going to be going up against here, who is going to be going on some design reads in terms of Justin Fields. So I think this game actually sets up to be a little bit lower scoring. But the reason why I haven't fired on anything officially yet is because we don't even know who the quarterback's going to be. The Chicago Bears haven't announced who their starting quarterback is, and we don't know yet who's the play caller going to be because Matt Nagy's now floating that he might give up play calling duties. So while I lean to the under in this spot, and Sharp Money has definitely bet it down from 43.5 down to its present number, I think it's difficult to actually fire at a depressed number, not knowing who the quarterback is or who the play caller is.
Yeah, the play calling, giving it back up to Lazor, I think would really help the Bears. It certainly helped Mitch Trubisky and the Chicago team last season. So for Bears fans and backers, I do hope that's the case. Vaughn, have you fired on any wagers on this game between the Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions?
So when looking at this game, Chicago's won 8 of the last 9 against Detroit as the home favorite. Obviously, without knowing the quarterback, like Warren said, it's hard for you to really back this team right now. This seems like a line that could easily be flipped, and Detroit could be the favorite with the way they have played. But as Warren said, there's plenty of ability. There's plenty of similarities between Lamar Jackson and now Justin Fields. So if he's a starting quarterback, I might take a look at this game and how they're going to approach it with call playing because I think they'll be better offensively. Hard to be worse than what happened last game, but not much of a Bears backer for me.
Another game where you could argue there's an advantageous matchup is going to be the Seattle Seahawks going up against this 49ers secondary, Vaughn. 49ers secondary, pretty banged up the first few weeks. We did see Aaron Rodgers be able to pick apart them, of course, with his best weapon in Devontae Adams. Vaughn, now Russell Wilson gets to use his plethora of weapons against the 49ers. What do you think about this one?
I'm excited from this one from a spread standpoint and a player prop standpoint. Like you said, with the 49ers, they have a ton of issues right now in the secondary. That's the worst part about their team. And that's really was put on display by Aaron Rodgers. And when you get Russell Wilson up next, it's very easy to see that continuing another time. Russell Wilson has been dominant. We've been talking about teams coming off a loss. He's dominant coming off a loss, 34-10 straight up, 28-13-3 against the spread in his career. I want to see if Tyler Lockett is playing. He took a big hit in the previous game. If he's in here, I like the Seahawks in this spot on the spread. They beat the Niners 8 out of the last 10 times. As an underdog, they do pretty well. But as a road underdog, the Seahawks are 7-2 in their last 9, which is pretty special to me. Given Russell Wilson has thrown 2 or more touchdowns in 6 of his last 7 against this Niners team, there's a lot of player prop potential on Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf. If we get a nice 5.5 line and Tyler Lockett is out, we are snagging that one up, no questions asked. So be ready to drop on that, pending the Tyler Lockett news. But I really like the Seahawks in the spot if he's a go.
I love the Seahawks in this spot. We'll talk about that for best bets fairly quickly here. Russell Wilson, the better quarterback. I would argue in a must-win situation in a divisional matchup, I'll take the better QB and the points. Okay, we've gone through a ton of games. We do not have time to go in depth about every single game. We would be here for 24 hours straight, and I'm not kidding. So we're going to do the blitz, which now is when you guys give me your quick, fast, honest opinions. And Warren, I start with you in the Colts and Dolphins.
I was on the Dolphins last week. Jacoby Brissett looked fine. I do not want to play them this week. However, I think this game is a pass for me. I don't love the line. I do see value in the under, but you missed the number, so I'm passing altogether here.
Vaughn?
Yeah, for this game, I'm not really too invested in either. I'd be looking more towards the under than anything, but at 42.5, that's a total pass.
Here we go. Texans, Bills, Vaughn.
Brandon Cooks, back to this one. Over 5.5 receptions for him. As we talked about, target share, everything he's leading the NFL in. He's an amazing receiver right now with Davis Mills. So that's the only look that I have in this game. I would tease maybe the Texans, but spread is way too high to play anything in this one straight up.
Agree with Vaughn. Nothing here for me. I like this team in terms of the Buffalo Bills. I was impressed by the quarterback. They got extra time for the Texans to prepare for this spot, but I don't see any value either side or total.
You told me last week Josh Allen was going to find success, and I didn't back him. So I'm staying away if you're staying away. Browns at Vikings, Warren.
I'm going to go Minnesota here. I think that they have value as a home underdog. They got a great home field advantage. We can't forget about that. Crowd is back. I think the Browns are a little bit overvalued after their game against the Bears with a terrible game plan for Matt Nagy. I'm going to lean to Minnesota, even though I really don't like this team in general.
Vaughn?
Minnesota always finds a way to burn me, so that's a team that I would not be betting on. The Browns, I think this is a trap spot for them. I would look at Kirk Cousins over-under passing touchdowns, hit it in 15 of the last 19. If Dalvin Cook is playing, I might look at the under for plus 160.
Nice look. All right, Giants playing the New Orleans Saints, Vaughn.
And for the Giants, I think that's going to be an interesting game here. I'm not really sold on this team in particular with the Saints, Teddy Bridge, or with Jameis Winston at quarterback. The Giants have done well against the spread as an underdog and on the road, but spot that I can't back them either. This is Saints or nothing.
To me, it's Giants and under, but the Giants have a couple wide receivers that are beat up. So I do like the Giants in this spot if those receivers can play, but I do think this game's going to start off a little slowly.
Yeah, Giants are nothing for me. Too many points. Titans, New York Jets, Warren.
Jets here, ugly. I told you, Sarah, at the top of the show is going to be an ugly board. Look at all these disgusting dogs and terrible quarterbacks that we're backing. Jets for me in this spot.
Yeah, this is certainly looks like a Jets +7 spot for me too. Without Julio Jones or A.J. Brown, if these two guys are definitely out, look at Derrick Henry, maybe a Ryan Tannehill touchdown, but I would take the Jets on the spread.
It's a hold your breath, hold your nose, and take the New York Football Jets and see if they can get their cover. Don't forget to check out our daily podcast, Bet the Edge, powered by PointsBet, Monday to Friday, to arm you with the actionable information you need to wager with confidence. Drew Dinsick and myself, along with our NBC Sports Edge team of experts, provide listeners with unique analysis, trends, projections, and picks. From the futures market to over-unders and point spreads, check out our Edge betting tools and tune in to give yourself an extra edge with all of your wagers. PointsBet head trader Jay Crouch are going to give us some insight on Week 4 lines when we come back right here on Blitzing the Board.
NBC Sports Edge Plus, home to everything fantasy, DFS, and betting, with premier tools and exclusive insights that are second to none. Get fantasy predictions, rankings, and betting trends, plus news and analysis from our experts. Play with confidence today. Visit NBCSportsEdge.com/learn.
Hey, what's up? It's Corey Parson with NBC Sports Edge, back with another look at Week 4 in the NFL, where the Minnesota Vikings are 2-point home underdogs versus the Cleveland Browns. I'm old enough to remember the last time the Minnesota Vikings were 2-point home underdogs. It was just a week ago. And guess what? They covered the spread and won the game outright. I expect the same results for the Minnesota Vikings this week. Do not forget to check out Bet the Edge every weekday on our NBC Sports Edge YouTube channel. I'm Corey Parson. Enjoy the games and enjoy the sweat.
Another beauty on Sunday Night Football. And don't touch that dial.
That's sensational.
What a play.
Holy smokes.
Welcome to AP Bio. Ready to begin?
You're a tiger.
Uniforms promote conformity. You're going to turn these kids into cults.
We're really getting somewhere now.
Yeah. We are officially in a tornado warning.
We're all dead. We're dead. Do not live in fear. Dad!
Where's my son, Jack?
Are you Mr. Griffin?
I suppose I am.
Dad?
Blitzing the board, getting you ready for week 4. And to get insight from the bookmaker's perspective, we welcome in Jay Croucher, head trader over at PointsBet. Jay, I have to start with a game that we haven't talked too much on this show. It is the Chiefs and the Eagles. We broke down the Chiefs just a little bit. They're laying 7, and they're 1-11-2 against the spread in their last 14 games. Haven't covered the spread so far this year, dating back even to their last 5 consecutive games. Now we see a 7. I'm curious from your guys' perspective, if you open a big number with the Chiefs, knowing their offense, and almost knowing that typically the public will back Patrick Mahomes and this dynamic offense regardless.
So the public, like you say, they back the Chiefs every single week. People are just terrified of betting against Patrick Mahomes. I think when people think about that, they just close their eyes and they see Mahomes launching the ball downfield to Tyreek Hill, and they just don't want anything to do with that. So every week, almost, we take a position against the Chiefs. But this week, this line is interesting because preseason, the look-ahead line was -7. Kansas City. And then a week ago, prior to the Eagles getting blown out by Dallas, it was 5.5, and now it's back out to 7. So despite, Kansas City not being the team so far that people expected they would be, and the Eagles going on this weird kind of circuitous run through the league where, after week 1, they look like world beaters. They almost beat San Francisco in a very strange game, and then they get blown out by Dallas. So it's kind of like both teams are back to square one. But we'll be cheering for the Eagles, for better or worse.
Probably for worse, you definitely need to be cheering for them. But that game and that game plan that they had offensively certainly did not do them any favors. Let me ask you about another team. We talked about them earlier in the show, whose game plan has not done them any favors pretty much this entire season. I think they got lucky to win even week 1 against the Bills, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are going up against the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers, everybody hated this team after the first week, but now everybody's back in love with them. The defending MVP and Aaron Rodgers is looking really good here. And you've got the Green Bay Packers laying 6.5 at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It seems like a number that the public is going to be super excited to just jump in, lay Aaron Rodgers underneath of a full touchdown. Are you absolutely going to need the Steelers in this game? And what's your thoughts on the way that the betting is setting up for this one?
We will need the Steelers in this game. Right now, 4% of our handle on the spread is on Pittsburgh, and 96% is on Green Bay. And so, look, I think there is a chance that Pittsburgh are just team disaster. The Big Ben is just completely done. The defense isn't what it was last year. But at the same time, Green Bay, their perception is perhaps inflated a little bit by some things going their way, where the first half against Detroit, they were terrible. Last week, if Jimmy Garoppolo burns another 8 seconds off the play clock before he snaps the touchdown pass, Green Bay lose that game. They're 1-2. And the other loss that they would have had was a 38-3 blowout to New Orleans. So I think there's still a lot of question marks around Green Bay. Still fairly confident that Pittsburgh have a really good defense. It's just whether the bottom completely falls out of this Pittsburgh offense.
Only 4% on my Pittsburgh Steelers. That's not even hard to believe at this point. So I love getting your guys' tidbits on where all the money is going every single week. That helps me a lot when I'm trying to determine a side, because I'm a player prop better for the most point. Are there any teams or totals this week that are like the Packers and Steelers where there's 90% or more and you see a significant difference where you have to just root for one team the entire time?
Yeah, so the other team that we're cheering for, and it's a team that I suspect we're going to be cheering for almost every week, is the New York Jets, where people are loading up on the Titans. And again, this has all the makings of a game where everyone loves one particular side, and the side that can score, theoretically at least, explosively in Tennessee against a very limited offense. I think we're now at the point of the season where people have just given up on teams, and people don't want anything to do with the Jets, the Jags, the Giants, teams that have looked so bad in the first 3 weeks, and against competent teams who have high offensive ceilings. When they're matched up against the cellar dwellers, there's going to be a huge imbalance of handle. So we need the Jets.
I'm just going to cut right to the chase. I need some winners, and I've got a little bit of money, and I want to spend it on something that's going to give me great return on investment. Who is that team this week for you that you would actually feel comfortable going to another book, placing your money through the window and getting a ticket back?
Well, I guess firstly, given that we set the lines, we're pretty comfortable with where they are. But one that is interesting to me is the Houston Texans. You know what they say, you can't stop Davis Mills, you can only hope to contain him. Plus 16.5. That is a big, big number this early in the season against the Houston team that has handled itself perfectly well through the first 3 weeks of the season. They got blown out by Carolina, but still that game was competitive for portions of it. And also, you know, they still covered 16.5. So I think that, you know, people are still regressing back to Houston's preseason expectations, where they were thought to be the worst team in the league. And obviously they drift closer towards that with the great Davis Mills instead of Tyrod Taylor. But at the same time, 16.5 points is a lot.
It's a lot of points, and I'm going to have to assume if that gets to 17, you'll see some buyback on the Houston Texans, including from me, which I won't be happy about, but I'll be forced to do it with that number. There's been a lot of good teaser legs. Last week, we saw a ton of teasers come home, Jay, and this week, there's certainly quite a few good teaser legs. Do you guys ultimately, come Sunday, start moving your lines to get away from teaser liability, kind of hoping, let's say the Chiefs, for example, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that some of these can't be in a decent teaser leg?
So this week, there's a lot of lines that are in the teaser zone, a lot of lines around that 7.5 mark. You know, those games you mentioned, as well as Tennessee being in that mix. So I'm sure there will be a lot of people teasing those lines down to 1.5. Ultimately, we don't really factor that in. We just try and get the line right as best as we can and then live with the consequences from there. But it would be nice if one of these touchdown underdogs can pull an upset.
So you just mentioned touchdown plus underdogs. I want to know from you, we'll wake up on Monday morning and we will all be shocked that this team won their game. Who is a team that is going to pull the upset this week that you don't think anybody's expecting right now?
Well, the team that no one is expecting right now is the New England Patriots, where just like the Green Bay Packers, we have 96% of our handle on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, this line on Sunday was at 5.5. It quickly shot up to 7. It's finally met some resistance at 7. And from preseason, the look-ahead line for this game was -4. And so it's gone from -4 to -7, still all the money on Tampa Bay. I think that like Tennessee, New York, this game has just the perfect recipe for everyone to line up on one side. And that's what we find, particularly in primetime games, but in all games, is when you've got an elite team with an explosive offense where it's so easy to envision Tom Brady and Mike Evans and Antonio Brown and co putting up huge numbers against a mid-tier team that has a limited offense. That's where people talk themselves into the favorite on the road. There's not a lot of respect for Bill Belichick at the moment, and I'm sure that he's crafted this game plan more carefully than he's ever crafted a game plan before. And so this is obviously the biggest game of the week, the most interesting one, and certainly one where we'll be hoping for the upset.
Yeah, I love to hear it to a certain degree because I do think the Bucs are going to get the victory, but I do lean the Patriots on the spread because you know, Tom Brady's facing his former coach. They know everything you need to know about him. So my followers wanted to know because I'm a big player prop guy. That's mainly what I focus on. Out of the past 3 weeks, maybe this week, are there anybody in particular that you guys have been taking a lot of money on repeatedly, or anybody that you're surprised that's actually getting more money than you guys anticipated just to move their lines?
Yeah, so there's been some, I guess, some shifts in process around certain players, shifts in expectations. A guy like Brandon Cooks as well, who's overperformed expectations. Yeah. Someone like him shifts up. In terms of our activity, you know, the activity comes largely where you'd expect it. People like backing overs. They like backing over on Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, big names, Derrick Henry, these sorts of players. That's where we see the bulk of action on player props, as well as, you know, a lot of same game parlay action with correlated outcomes and a lot of touchdown scorer bets too. But where the most interesting, I guess, player market movement is, for me, is in the futures markets. And so this is where you find a lot of discrepancies, you know, between books and where we can really take positions and really hold an opinion with something like, for instance, comeback player of the year, where right now we're just about the shortest price on Dak Prescott. We think that, his comeback player of the year odds are almost just a bet on him staying healthy and playing 14 or 15 games. Whereas we have someone like Sam Darnold, who we're best price in the world on, who I don't really understand Sam Darnold's case. He's coming back from being bad. He's coming back from Adam Gase, whereas Dak Prescott's coming back from a vicious injury and, looks like a borderline MVP candidate. So that's where I guess the most interesting type of movements come in markets like that.
I'd have to side with you on liking Dak in that market. By the way, Brandon Cooks, the reason you're probably taking so much action is because if you go to Von Dalzell's Twitter page, you would see nonstop Brandon Cooks props. So you better tell him to cool down because he's made Vaughn some serious money so far. Listen, you mentioned the biggest game on the board, Jay, and that is, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the return of Tom Brady. And there are so many props available on PointsBet that you can get involved with, all kind of surrounded with the number 12. Tell me a little bit about the props that you guys have up at PointsBet and where you're taking some serious action for this game in the prop market of his return to Foxborough.
Yeah, so this is fun. So we've built a lot of props around the key Brady numbers. 12, obviously, his jersey number. 22, the amount of seasons he's played. 44, which is ridiculously his age. We've built markets around that. Some of the most fun ones are Brady's longest pass to be greater than his age, where that's that plus 130 number that basically reflects how often he has achieved that playing under Tampa Bay. Obviously, we have some margin built in there, and that's accounting for the fact that New England has a really good pass defense, particularly against deep balls. But we expect that, Brady will surely take some deep shots against Belichick. And then my favorite one is actually Brady to go over 12 rushing yards, which he did last week. And it would just be magnificent to see Brady galloping down the field. It's one of the great sights in sport, I think, is Tom Brady attempting to sprint.
You'd have to imagine he wants to seriously leave it all on the field with his first return against the Patriots. Jay, as always, we appreciate it. Best of luck this weekend. And again, thank you so much for the time.
Thanks, everyone.
PointsBet has an easy way to take a shot on Sunday Night Football every week, and that includes this week's huge Bucs-Patriots game. For all PointsBet customers, new and old, your first bet on Tampa, New England is risk-free. You either win your bet or get it back with up to $20 in risk-free bets. All right. We just heard from head trader at PointsBet, Jay Croucher. We all heard what he had to say. There are a ton of props being offered if you're looking to back the GOAT in Tom Brady on Sunday night. What about the team on the other side of the ball? We caught up with NBC Sports Boston Phil Perry, who's been at Patriots practice all week long, watching how they are game planning for the Tom Brady-led Buccaneers offense. Take a listen.
What's Bill Belichick's message to his players this week as they get ready to take on Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? It's this. Hearing from players inside the Patriots locker room, they're preparing not just to play Tom Brady, but the entire Buccaneers roster. Of course, they have all kinds of respect for the former Patriots quarterback and what he has done in Tampa Bay, but they know there's a lot of talent elsewhere on the Bucs roster as well. So how will that play out in terms of what the Patriots game plan should be? Well, defensively, Devin McCourty told us on Wednesday, Tom Brady knows everything about our defense, but there's some familiarity on the other side as well because the Bucs run an offense that's similar to what the Patriots have run for so long. They have some understanding of what Tom Brady is going to try to do too. So how about this for a potential Patriots game plan? Play two safeties deep and force Tom Brady to hand off the football. Can he do it? Can he be that disciplined on his big night, his big return to Foxborough, to hand it off 35, 40 times? It'll be interesting to see how Bill Belichick and this Patriots defense play things against their old friend, Tom Brady.
Thanks so much, Phil. Handing the ball off 35, 40 times for Tom Brady, I'm going to say no. I think I'll take the under if that line opens up at 40. We'll see about that. Vaughn, this is an interesting game, and we kind of alluded to it with Jay that most of us would probably take the points with the Patriots. There have been so much steam on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, opened at 5.5. The total stayed the same at 49 for what it's worth, but now we're looking at the Bucs laying a touchdown in Tom Brady's return. You can make a lot of arguments for Tom Brady, Vaughn, and this Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off of a loss. What is your favorite prop or side in this game?
Ooh, well, as I said, I already got the Bucs and a little teaser or money line parlay. You can get them at the half point or -1. So I like them here in this spot. It's an easy hedge if the Chiefs beat the Eagles as well to get the Patriots at good money at Sunday night. Hopefully we don't have to get to that point. But on PointsBet, they have a lot of the cool props you saw up on the screen. One of my personal favorites for some lunch money is Brady to Gronk to be the first completion. I think that's a very interesting prop just to get the crowd into the game and get the New England fans, because they're all going to be beating Brady, Gronk, and Mac Jones jerseys. Get them on their side a little bit. And there's also another interesting prop that's not shown on the screen, but one that just came about today. Who catches Tom Brady's record-breaking pass when he goes with NFL's most passing yards in history? Giovanni Bernard is 8-1 for those odds, and he gets the ball a lot as a running back. So I kind of like that one too. Again, these are all lunch money bets, but you can find a lot of options to have some fun Sunday Night Football, because who is not betting this game? If you're doing something else Sunday night, you might have a problem.
Different ways to attack this one for sure. Antonio Brown most likely playing. Gronk still dealing with an injury, did not practice today. So we will see if he ends up being a go for Sunday. Warren, have you placed any bets on this marquee matchup on NBC for Sunday Night Football?
I haven't. I would love to bet the under on Tom Brady handoffs at 35 or 40, though.
Who wants to take our action? Because we're ready to give our money to that one.
I needed a good laugh, Sarah, and that definitely is it. Look, that would be hilarious if that happened, if Bill Belichick somehow tricked Tom Brady into running the ball 35 to 40 times. This is a team, though, that was running the ball a lot on first down, and their first down runs have been very inefficient. So that is a way that the Patriots could get ahead of the sticks defensively and make the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a little bit behind the sticks, is if the Patriots do get them to run the ball a little bit too much and it's not productive. But the one interesting element for this game to me is I look at the Patriots. They do have a top defense. They've played like they were number 4 ranking, number 8 against the pass, but then look at the opposing offenses that they've gone up against. And we're talking about quarterbacks that aren't really good, like Tua Tagovailoa and Zach Wilson and Jameis Winston. Now you're going up against Tom Brady. So that said, I'm not going to be backing Tom Brady in this spot. I will be playing with the bookmaker. This is an easy game for me, and that is this line is inflated. Jay clearly indicated that it was inflated. It should not be up at 6.5 to 7, but they can hang a number like this when they know that the public is still going to take it regardless. And clearly the bookmaker, it's their dream. Everything has come true so far. They put a really high number that's not realistic for this game, and the public is still betting it regardless. And that's the best hope that you could get. Obviously, the bookmakers are clearly going to be hoping the Patriots somehow figure it out. I think the Patriots will have a little success passing the ball underneath. Their key, though, they must get better pass protection for their rookie quarterback. Last week, pressured on 44% of early down passes the first 3 quarters. Cannot happen this week. That game, the final score against the Saints should not have been that lopsided. A couple defensive scores or great field position set up by turnovers for the Saints. That cannot happen here against the Bucs. They've got to play mistake-free football and get better production up front with a better pass blocking offensive line performance. If they can do that, I do see them hanging tight in this one, but I'm not going to be bucking the bookmaker here. I'll be riding with them.
So to piggyback off of Warren, I did play the Patriots team total under 21.5 because I think a lot of that pressure from the Bucs is going to make it a little difficult to move the ball up and down the field. I see a couple of field goals coming from the Pats, but for the most part, in their 2 losses, they scored 29 total points and they put up 25 on the Jets. So I still want to see what they can do against not a superior front seven, but a very good front seven, and see if Mac Jones can move the ball up and down the field, if this moment is too big for him or not. So I play their team total under.
What a great look. The Patriots have been held under 20 points twice so far in 2021. I think I'm going to have to grab the points with the Patriots for everything Warren just said about what Jay mentioned, needing them for the buck. Listen, we asked you, the viewers, to help us decide which game you wanted us to dive deeper into. We had a poll up on Twitter at NBC Sports Bet. And as you can see right now, there was a tie, the first ever tie on Blitzing the board here. We ended up taking the game with the highest point total. So we went with the Raiders versus the Chargers instead of Baltimore and Denver. But what are the chances? 30.3% of you guys had a split opinion on that game. So we go to the Raiders and Chargers, the higher point total. Fired up about this game. Line opened at 3 with the Raiders and Chargers laying the points, the total at 53. It moved around a little bit. I saw some 3.5s, but now on the board, we're seeing 3. Total tick down just a teeny bit. Right now, 52.5. Warren, I'll come out right and just say this. I like the Chargers, and I'm hearing a lot of conflicting reports and money coming in on the Raiders, which I hate to go against some smarter money backing this team. I love Justin Herbert. I do think it might be just a little bit inflated seeing what they did last week against the Chiefs. but I ultimately like what they've been able to do. I love Staley as a coach, so that's where I stand. How do you see this game script planning out or writing itself out, and who do you like in this one?
For me, first of all, let's talk about the pro money. Definitely came on initially on the Chargers, has since come back on the Raiders. The total has been bet down. I kind of like the last move thus far. I like the dog and the under a little bit. My only concern, especially backing the under, is the high pass rate that we're going to get out of the Raiders. This is the Raiders team that struggles to run the football. This is a Chargers defense that is going to invite these short passes, try not to get beat over the top. Derek Carr is going to have to be extremely disciplined, accurate underneath, try to matriculate the ball down the field a little bit more so than hitting some of those splash plays over the top that we saw them do in primetime against the Baltimore Ravens, a team that sent a lot of pressure, and Derek Carr could just throw the ball over the top to these guys. It's hard to want to fade John Gruden when he's winning. When John Gruden is winning and this team is in a good flow and positive momentum, they tend to continue to roll. Is when they get off the rails a little bit that they become a bit of a disaster. And at this point in time, I have not placed a bet on this game yet, but where I would be looking will be the Raiders and the under.
Fawn, what about you? Have you placed any bets in this game? And if not, what do you like?
So I haven't placed any bets in this game. I was looking more at a player prop perspective because I want to see more from the Raiders and make sure they're as legit as they seem to be right now, because Derek Carr playing on another level, that we've never seen him play on before. But you could also say the same thing about Justin Herbert. So I'm looking at both of their passing totals and what they can do. Mike Williams, might be my most interesting play in this game. I'm waiting to see what type of numbers I can get, particularly on these type of receivers. But Darren Waller and Mike Williams are two guys that have been feasting this year and getting a lot of targets. Williams is finally realizing his potential. He's had 7 catches or 80 yards and a touchdown in all 3 straight games so far this season. So I'll be taking an eye on him and seeing what his prop bets are on PointsBet when they come out.
Just a little more of my, I guess, handicap for this one. And you guys said it. Derek Carr is playing probably his best football in quite some time. I know they're 3-0. I think I'm just not as sold. He hasn't had a lot of comfortable wins. We just kind of talked about some of their wins. 2 overtime wins, but out in Vegas. LA's run defense, I mentioned this on Bet the Edge throughout the show. They've been vulnerable, but it's not like Vegas's run game is that strong. So I'll take the better quarterback in Justin Herbert. And I love Mike Williams, as you said, in Keenan Allen's matchup against this young Raiders secondary. We still have our best bets to come right here on Blitzing the Board. We will be back after this.
NBC Sports Edge Plus, home to everything fantasy, DFS, and betting, with premier tools and exclusive insights that are second to none. Get fantasy predictions, rankings, and betting trends, plus news and analysis from our experts. Play with confidence today. Visit NBCSportsEdge.com/learn. Don't leave money on the table. No matter your sport, the Predictor app has got you covered. Tens of thousands in cash prizes up for grabs every week. And it's free to play. Download the NBC Sports Predictor app powered by PointsBet now.
Another beauty on Sunday Night Football. And don't touch that dial.
That's sensational.
What a play.
Holy smokes.
Welcome to AP Bio. Ready to begin?
You're Tiger.
Uniforms promote conformity. You're going to turn these kids into cults.
We're really getting somewhere now.
Yeah.
We are officially in a tornado warning.
We're all dead.
No,
We're dead.
Do not live in fear.
Dad!
Where's my son Jack?
Are you Mr. Griffin?
I suppose I am.
Dad?
Welcome back to Blitzing the Board. It is time for me to give you my favorite betting nugget of the week. That's right. Time for Pearls of Wisdom. So as I always say, sit back, relax, take a pen out, take some notes. Here's what I got for you today. Touched on it at the beginning of the show. The 3-time defending AFC champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, are 1-11-2 against the number in their last 14 games. I will say they're 10-4 straight up during that period, so there are 10 wins. But here's what I have to say. Not only are they off to their worst start in 7 years, they're still a really good team. Maybe not profitable against the spread, but they're still the favorite to win the Super Bowl. We talked about that. They're the favorite to win the AFC West. We mentioned that. I think this might be a good spot where there's been a few adjustments here to get them back to a realistic line to cover the spread. Jay Croucher came on. Yes, he said people back the Kansas City Chiefs no matter what. They're a public team. But now they're playing the Eagles where it's 7 points. I know that seemed large for a team that hasn't been covering, but let's look back fairly quickly to last week. Dallas was able to hang 41 points against this Eagles defense. Jalen Hurts and their offense put up just 2 touchdowns. Now they're facing a Kansas City Chiefs team laying just 7. When I thought this line would open, I was surprised it wasn't 8.5. So this leads me to believe a little bit the market's corrected itself. And the Kansas City Chiefs that have been infamous for not covering as of late, I think, get their first big win and cover of the season. One of my best bets leads me now. I think I'm going to have to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. A little bit of a pick I wasn't sure I was going to take in the morning, kind of talked myself into it. But now we go to our best bets for you guys. And Warren, I will start with you. Whether you use my pearls of wisdom in this or not, what do you got?
Well, I kicked off the show with the Washington football team in Atlanta. I think it's a short number that they're going to be able to cover against an opponent that I don't really love on the season thus far. I think it's a nice bounce back spot for Ron Rivera's defense and Taylor Heineke to look a little bit more comfortable on the road. There's definitely going to be a number of bets there that we're going to be adding to this board for me. They're all going to be ugly. They're all going to be uncomfortable. And I just can't wait to see all the disgusting grossness that plays out during the day slate before we get ready for Tom Brady versus Bill Belichick. And if Jay is right, I mean, a lot of the public is going to be disappointed with the result of that game as well.
I am quite sickened by the games that you chose. I don't know how you stomach them on Sunday. Like my stress level, I don't want to be sweating all day Sunday, Warren. With your games, that's what I feel like I have to do. Although no win comes easy unless you're playing the prop market like Von Dalzell. So Von, player prop market straight up against the spread. I don't care. What are your best bets?
Yeah, so rolling with the 3 game picks here. We're rolling with unders. So we're going to be sweating a little bit too, and they're all against some offenses that could put up a little bit of numbers. The Cardinals team total under 24, as I said, 11-1 to the under. In the last 12 road games for the Cardinals. I can't play the game total under because, like Warren said, Matt Stafford go out and drop a 30-piece on them very easily. So I like the Cardinals under there. For the Patriots, a lot of pressure coming from the Bucs. I really think the Bucs are going to want to go and win this game for Tom Brady. So I feel comfortable fading a rookie quarterback in the biggest game of his young career at this number. And then moneyline parlay, because I have to be simple like that sometimes. The Chiefs and the Bucs, I feel, are 2 great back spots. The 2 Super Bowl contenders coming off of losses. They've been so stellar since 2018 with Mahomes, 7-3 against the spread coming off a loss. Brady 5-0 with the Bucs, straight up and against the spread. I like both the Super Bowl teams to come away with victories this week, beating the Eagles and, of course, the Patriots on Sunday Night Football.
All right, my best bets. I got ahead early for the Monday night game. I like the Chargers laying 3. That's one of my favorites. You guys heard me talk about that one quite a bit. My other favorite plays, well, of course, it's going to be a 2-team teaser because that's what your girl does on this show. The Seahawks +9, the Ravens +7.5. That's right, 2-team 6-point teaser. Broncos have not been tested yet. They played the Giants, Jags, and the Jets. They're now getting a real offense. Ravens undervalued because of that game against the Lions. Seahawks, they need the win. I said it, better quarterback playing up a banged up secondary. Favorite teaser on the board. There you have it. So we have the Seahawks +9, Baltimore +7, and my 2-team teaser, or 7.5 rather, Chargers -3. Warren's adding more, but for now, he's stomaching the football team laying 1.5, Arizona team total under 24, New England team total under 21.5. Moneyline parlay, Tampa Bay and Kansas City for Von Dalzell. Now that you're all set to make your wagers, don't forget to set your fantasy lineups. Check out A Good Football Show, Fantasy Kickoff every Sunday at noon Eastern on the NBC Sports Edge YouTube channel, leading right into kickoff as Patrick Doherty and the Edge crew cover all of the inactives and late-breaking news, break down the key fantasy matchups, and take your questions, start-sit questions live before your lineups lock. So go to NBCSportsEdge.com/YouTube to subscribe now. That wraps up week 4 here on Bet the Edge, blitzing the board, powered by PointsBet. For Warren Sharp, Von Dalzell, all of us here with NBC Sports, I am Sarah Perlman. We wish you nothing but the best of luck for all your week 4 wagers. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the games. And make sure to stay tuned on our YouTube channel for A Good Football Show coming up right after this. Woo!
Why does it say